Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Talking About Birds, a Cardinal podcast that will definitely not be winning Comeback Podcast of the Year. My name is Nate Heininger, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Ben Samorka.
You know, it's just good to be nominated for the awards. You know, there's a lot of fine people in this category, so I'm just happy to be among them.
That's pretty bold of you to even assume within this bit that I've created that we were nominated.
I mean, we came back. We fulfilled the criteria. Is it good? No.
We were eligible.
Yeah, there we go.
As the best you can say.
Yes. So. Yeah, there you go.
Well, we're going to be talking about all the recent Cardinal awards. We're going to continue to dive into the Cardinal offseason and the hot stove rumors. And we're going to talk about all of the news that's been happening from around the league. If you have an idea for the opening joke, tweet us at Talk About Birds. Ben, what a huge week!
Wow,
we've got what a big week,
massive week.
Of course talking about Thanksgiving. Shout out to all of our United States listeners and those of you who are celebrating Thanksgiving. Ben, are you a big Thanksgiving guy?
No, I don't care about it. No, I'm kind of I'll just put it all out there for you, Nate. As I've gotten older, I kind of just don't care about holidays anymore. I don't care about Christmas. I don't care about Thanksgiving.
Wow, you're a real Grinch.
I know, and I don't even care. I just don't care. Like, yeah. So no, I don't really care about Thanksgiving. I am baking some items for our Friendsgiving celebration, so I'm more looking forward to my baked items than celebrating colonialism and the whitewashing of America's native people. But yeah, no, I don't really care.
When you
well,
give me a tough spot here. I wanted to ask, when you arrive at this celebration that you're attending, are you going to make it clear out of the gates that you don't want to be doing this?
Well, I've sent an email, and then obviously I will stump for 10 to 15 minutes about my issues, but yeah, people don't want to hear people say that they don't like Thanksgiving or Christmas or whatever. Like nobody wants to hear that. So that's why I kind of just, I don't know why I'm talking about it.
Yeah. It's good radio. I would have assumed you love Thanksgiving. Maybe, not for all of the, everything you shared, the intent and origination of Thanksgiving, but rather arguably top 2 ham-based holidays. And so
right.
I figured for you, like, this is, the meaning has shifted to just be ham focused.
Yeah. I like the food. Shout out Gordo. He's smoking and he's brining and smoking a turkey. I'm not sure if ham is going to be on the menu. But yeah, no, I obviously
sure you're outraged.
I like food. But yeah, I guess that's where it starts and stops. Like I would also be fine if we were just like, hey, it's September 21st, big time to eat day. Like we're all gonna make a big old meal. Like that would be fine with me as well.
Well, most United States holidays have regressed all the way down to just like, this is a drinking one. This is an eating one. This is a drinking one. This is the one where we give each other gifts that we are just buying off of each other's Amazon lists.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I of course agree with you on the like where Thanksgiving comes from, and why we celebrate it. Maybe not great anymore, but the actual getting like the end result of the holiday. This is one of my more favorite ones, which is just sitting around and eating food.
Yeah.
So we're deep frying a turkey, which is really, smoking sounds great, but
don't blow yourself up, dog.
Yeah, that is pretty high on the list of things I'm trying not to do on a regular basis. And deep frying a turkey is definitely one where I get closest to the possibility of it. Generally, I'm avoiding combustibles just in general. But
Yeah.
you gotta, no pain, no gain, I guess.
Sure. Yeah. Keep saying words. I agree with
Anyway,
you.
happy Thanksgiving, Ben. I know you love it. So
I like that we don't have to work. Is that good?
hey, yeah. Now that's the American way right there.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
honestly, I could rant about that too. Like the amount of American work holidays is bullshit. We should have way more. Um, I
yeah.
don't know. Yeah.
Cool. Well, good chat. I guess we'll go.
Yeah, I know. I know it's curmudgeonly. I don't really care
Yeah.
though. Screw it
That,
all.
well, I guess if you're going to be a curmudgeon, just at least you're consistent where you're a curmudgeon about being a curmudgeon.
Yeah. Yeah.
So cool. All right. So I guess let's talk the biggest thing to happen in the last week. A culmination of a wonderful season, one of the better seasons we've seen as Cardinal fans, really since Albert Pujols left, if not the best offensive season we've seen it from a Cardinal since Pujols left. Paul Goldschmidt, he's your NL MVP.
Hell yeah.
Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
I would say that that season was quite Holzlian,
Puholzian,
Albert-esque. Um,
Albion.
No, I think like this was basically a foregone conclusion. Before September started, it just seemed like that was the way it was going. Even with Paulie kind of falling off in the last 3 or 4 weeks, he was just so dominant all year. I think there's also some narrative-y stuff around this. Like this guy probably should have won a couple of Gold Gloves, should have won a couple of MVPs in his career, but has been ousted, just barely. And then I think there's something to say about him having the best offensive year. Obviously a few years in now, but away from the offensive like environment that is Arizona.
Right.
STL is a hard place to hit the baseball. So I think he just really, really put together a fantastic season. And I think I don't have this written down, but I believe he's the oldest person to win the MVP since juiced up Barry Bonds in like oh
Correct.
04, 05 or something like that. So that is all super exciting. Love me some Goldie. Well deserved. It's nice to have the trophy back in St. Louis. It's all great.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this essentially seals his Hall of Fame pace. Like he
Yeah.
puts it right back on track. He assumably has several seasons left in the league, and we probably won't get this level of production from him again. But even if he just puts up really even just a couple more a season for the next 3 or 4 years, he's pretty much Cooperstown bound.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the award is great. And I think that's great too. But I also think like what's probably best from Cardinals fans' perspective is that he is like super duper bucking the aging trend of like a large
Yeah.
man that plays first base. The fact that he had his best offensive year at age 34, 35 is good. And that probably throws off the aging curve for the next, well, I guess for the remainder of his contract with the Cardinals. And that's also good. But yeah, I think like to be an immediate bummer, like regression is in the tea leaves for sure. But let's celebrate this fantastic, accomplishment and season and all that.
Yeah, well, I think we all kind of thought that was already happening. His past couple years with the Cardinals have been, as you put it, good. But I think this was such a surprise and such a bounce back. It does make you think like, will next year be closer to this or will it be closer to the last few years? I think odds are they're closer to the last few years just because of how good this season was. But it does make you he could do something similar to this next year, or at least like it's really that power and average
Yeah.
combo that was like the real big surprise this year. You kind of figure he can do as he gets older, he can usually kind of do one or the other, usually leaning into power. But this year we saw the average maintain and look like previous Goldie. So yeah, I'm really interested to see what the various projection systems have for him, because it's rare for guys of his age to have these huge seasons, but it happens, right? Like
Right.
some guys just I'm thinking Beltray, Ortiz,
Yeah,
Cruz
Ortiz is
until
probably Ortiz and Cruz. Those are both like perfect examples of
yeah,
aging and somehow hitting the ball harder.
yeah. And with the DH now, he's obviously a wonderful first baseman, but it hopefully helps that aging curve a little bit, giving him a little bit of extra time off. Yeah. So we had Manny come in second and Arenado come in third, which was, I think, not unsurprising. In a lot of ways, I think it almost helped Goldy that Arenado was the other one up there. Even though there's a lot of arguments to be made for Arenado winning the MVP, like in a vacuum, I think it was pretty easy if you were looking at both players to pick Goldy over Arenado for the MVP. So instead of splitting votes, it actually like made everybody feel very comfortable picking Goldie first, and he just
Right.
essentially ran away with it. Whereas, we remember back to the MV3 days of a lot of these guys splitting votes and it hurting them. I think it kind of helped him. And, you could argue Arenado should have won. He had more WAR, but, a lot of his came from defense and all
Yeah.
of that. Whereas,
Well, and I think that's kind of an important thing to hit, or I believe it is. And I know some people probably disagree with this, but like these awards are not who accrued the most F4. It is
right,
the MVP. So that there are other things outside of just like pure value. And I believe that's how it should be voted on. And I think like for Goldschmidt, it was the overall offensive performance that
right.
led him to the victory. Like it's not his fault he plays first base. That's what he does. He plays first base extremely well. He's Gold Glover. And he happened to have the best offensive year in the National League this year. So I think that all makes sense to me. And yeah, like I wouldn't blame anybody for voting Manny or Nolan one, but I think for the reason I just stated, it made all the sense to go with Goldie.
Yeah.
So I'm happy it went that way.
Well, and your point too, we talked about this a couple weeks ago when we were talking about the award, but that's also why I still feel like Otani should be the AL MVP winner, even
Yeah.
though, of course, like Judge is a super reasonable pick and deserving in his own right. But I just like that like we're seeing something that nobody has ever done before. It's
Yeah.
the
And
numbers, and we don't. How do you even calculate what Otani's doing
yeah.
compared to what Judge is doing? Even though Judge had one of the best offensive seasons we've ever seen, and really since
Yeah.
again juiced up Barry Bonds. So
Well, and I think this is kind of a lame narrative, but I do believe it in this sense. Like if those teams were swapped, if Judge and Otani swapped jerseys, everybody like Otani would probably win, or would have at least done better than having his point total. I think Judge
yeah,
had like 420 and 440 or something like that, and Otani had like in the 200s. Like I just think that would have been closer. And there's something to Otani, like on the West Coast. He's playing 2.5 months of meaningless baseball.
yeah.
And there's just not a lot of eyes on him. And what Judge, like, I can't remember a player having more eyes on them than what Judge did this year, at least maybe since the home run races back in the early 2000s. Um, Aaron Judge was just voted the fourth sexiest man alive
Yeah,
on the People
yeah.
magazine. I woke up this morning and I read that and I said it to Mary, and she just goes, "Ew." He
Wow.
looks like she called him
No,
Frankenstein.
he's a big boy, and he does have those two bolts coming out of the side of his head. So I get it. I get what
Yeah,
those bolts didn't get enough coverage this year.
they did
So
not.
yeah,
You got to consider that when you're signing a guy like that, the electricity cost to keep
yeah.
him up. Yeah,
hmm Yeah, and how many
you didn't like
like
that.
small children here? Well, I'm working on my own bits over here. Like I'm just I'm stuck
All
somewhere around
right.
giving a flower to a small child.
Yeah, yeah,
I bet Judge gave some flowers to children this year. Have we ever seen Frankenstein's monster and Judge together? She
that
might be
is
right.
that is a phenomenal question.
Yeah, she might
Also,
be right.
Hollywood, where are you on this? I want to see Aaron Judge Frankenstein vehicle. Let's go.
I think we gotta lock down the rights on this one. This is our IP.
Okay.
So we had another reward. Not this one, even less surprising than the goalie one, even though we all
Yeah.
knew where goalie was going. But Albert Pujols wins comeback player of the year. I mean, what a storybook ending, Ben. What a storybook. There should be stories. There should
Stupid
be
face you have on right now.
there should be storybooks of this.
Yeah.
I want to read this to my kids. Yeah, I mean, obvious. I don't even know who else you would really even have considered in this.
No.
Justin
Well,
Verlander getting it on the other side.
yeah, I would say the only thing that's kind of interesting about the fact that Albert did win it is that typically it's a situation like Justin Verlander where like a great player missed a year or missed the majority of a year due to an injury, I don't
Right.
know,
Like
whatever it
Wainwright.
might be. Like Wainwright.
Wainwright. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's typically who it goes to. But for Albert to, he didn't really miss any time, and he just came back home and put on a ridiculous show. I think that it just adds. I mean, it is crazy what he did. Like I don't know if it's fully sunk in what a 42-year-old first
Yeah.
ballot inner circle Hall of Famer just did in his final season coming back. It is storybook, even though I was kind of giving you trouble for that, but good for Albert. I don't know. It's kind of amazing. It's like what a way to, have your last season go and then to have the hardware to kind of, rest on. I think it's great too. I wish he would have got the DH Silver Slugger in the NL. I
Yeah.
think Albert Pujols getting the first Silver Slugger DH award in the National League in a full season would have been a nice little pin on it, but that didn't happen.
Yeah. Who got that?
Who did get that? I don't
Well, while you
remember.
look it up, I'm
I will look it.
wondering.
Well, I mean, you don't have to put that work on me, but I will look it up.
Yeah, you do it. I'm
I'm doing it.
thinking over here. I wonder where Pujols ranks like that trophy. He obviously has a wall of hardware. Because he also has gotten like uh Hank Aaron awards. He's gotten all these different awards over his careers for performance on and off the field. But I wonder where he ranks this comeback player of the year award, like on his wall of trophies.
Do you want to hazard a guess, real quick, of who won the NL Silver Slugger at DH?
Harper.
No, Josh Bell.
Josh Bell. He had a
Josh
pretty good
Bell.
year.
He had a
Yeah.
very good. He had a very good 103 games with the Washington Nationals. Put up a 153 OPS plus, and then came over to San Diego and in 53 games put up a 75 OPS plus, totaling to a 128. So yeah, that's a good year. But come on, baby, you got to give that to Albert. Come
Come
on.
on, baby. Come on. You gotta give it to Albert.
He
Yeah.
made it to 700 when nobody thought that was even going to be possible. I don't know. You just got to
Yeah.
give it to him. Come on now.
You gotta give it to him. Come
Yeah. Come
on.
on. Let's
Give it
go.
to him. Yeah, well, I mean, even besides the narrative side of it, like he had a really good season.
He did.
I'm wondering what his total OPS plus was compared to Josh Bell.
I'll look that up as well.
Yeah, you do the work. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Um, those
He
I
had. Oh yeah, no, he trounced him in OPS
Yeah,
plus
that's what I thought.
154 to
That's what I
128.
thought.
So
Yeah.
not even
Well, because he
close.
was the only player who was better offensively than Pujols in the second half was Aaron Judge. So
Yep.
I don't know. Yeah, very surprising.
Robbed.
But it is robbed. But comeback player of the year is fun.
It is.
It's an interesting like path. He's rookie of the year, then a bunch of MVPs, couple World Series, and he's bad for 9 years, and then he has this crazy ending, gets a comeback player of the year, and then he retires.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So that essentially wraps the sort of award season. It's been a pretty Cardinal filled award season though. Cardinals all over the place except for Cy Young, basically.
Yeah.
Cardinals had representatives everywhere, which makes sense. I mean, top 4 team in the NL, and for the first time in what feels like a long time, it was a very top heavy team. We're used to the Cardinals being like everyone's gonna be like a 110 WRC plus, and
Right.
we'll just win because everybody is that, instead of what we had this year, which was basically a handful of monsters in the middle of the lineup and a musical chairs everywhere else.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess this is a whole topic we didn't plan on discussing, but like when you think of like almost your like preferred way of watching a team. Like, what did you like better? Did you like the 2022 Cardinals? If we can strip away like all the narrative stuff, because that was a huge part of this year and made it arguably one of the most fun seasons of all time, I think, as Cardinal fans. But just like the on the field baseball,
Yeah.
like, do you like it where we had the Nolan Arenado or the Nolan Goldie Pujols like MV3, but like almost everybody else was at best getting on base like a Donovan, but
Yeah.
pretty much everyone else was struggling. There were peaks and valleys for other players, but it was kind of bad.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
What
I mean, I think there's definitely something to be said about like the way the Rays go about it, or the way that other like the Guardians this year were a good example of that same kind of thing, where it's like these 26 men are pulling together, and they're all plugging holes, and everyone there's a different star every night. I do think that as a baseball fan, I want to watch the best in the game. I want to watch
Yeah.
these stars go out there and dominate. Like I want to watch Nolan Arenado prove nightly why he is the best third baseman in baseball, and Goldschmidt to do the same thing. And I think that's why people tune into Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer starts, and all those kinds of things, is because they want to go see the person who is better than all of these extremely talented people go be better. And so that's kind of where I'm at. Like I would, and yeah, like I think you said this, but like throw Pujols in the second half in that too. Like I want to go out there and see the best guys, be the best guys, and the supporting cast, they did exactly what they needed to do. I mean, the Cardinals, we talked about it all season long. The Cardinals had no problem scoring runs this year. I know, people will complain about the lack of consistency, but I think that's really just because you're watching them every night. Every team has a lack of consistency
Yeah.
around their offense. That's just how baseball go. Um, so yeah, that's my 2 cents on it. Like, give me stars, give me superstars. I want to see the best in their class, do their
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most common opinion on it. You probably don't get a lot of people saying like, "No, I want to see a team of scrappy go-getters, be slightly above average." But I mean, that's kind of what we've had with the Cardinals for quite a while. So
It
it's
is.
been it was a really fun year, and I do think that is part of why it was such a fun year, is that we had this like a couple of elite level guys,
Yeah.
and it you just makes it more exciting. So
And they're like they seem like buddies, I think that's been pretty well documented. Like the fact that your two best players are also like friends off the field just makes the whole thing kind of fun, everyone's kind of in on the party there.
yeah, they got to like skip Toronto together.
Oh god,
uh,
I'm still trying to forget that happened.
yeah, yikes. All right, moving on. Some other interesting news it's come up. I'm gonna pull my favorite from this list, Ben, and then I'll let you walk us through it. But Lars Nootbaar has been invited to play for the Japanese World Baseball Classic team, which
Yeah.
is awesome. We're planning on like really covering the World Baseball Classic when it happens in the spring, and I'm expecting a bunch of Cardinal representation throughout it. But if you didn't know about Lars Nootbaar, that would probably be one of the most surprising sentences you've ever heard,
Yeah.
which is Lars Nootbaar is going to play on the Japanese team, but his
Yeah.
mother is of Japanese descent. So he is, I don't know if he's like 50% Japanese, but he is of Japanese ancestry. So he's been invited to play, and I think it's a great get for them.
Yeah.
They've also Otani has announced that he'll be playing for them. So Japanese team is usually good in this competition, and I think um, it'll be fun to watch Nootbaar alongside Otani.
Yeah, Lars' middle name is Tatsuji, to kind of represent his Japanese heritage, and yeah, I think it's great. Like you said, I think we're as a podcast super excited for the WBC to be back. Super excited to watch Team America play, and I know we already know we got Goldie and Arenado that'll be playing in that, and it sounds like more Cardinals are joining. I hope that Lars does it. I think it'll be great for his development and just being on a stage like that. All that's good. Also, I'm excited to watch him. But yeah, I mean, we were kind of gushing over his Statcasty numbers last week. Like Lars is good, and he probably, I don't know if he's going to be starting because Japan's going to have a super talented, star-studded team from MLB players and NPB players. But I hope he has some moments, and let's go Lars.
Yeah, it's just a ton of fun. Yeah. So what else do you want to talk about?
Yeah, just some other Cardinals news. I think one of the bigger things to note over this past week, we were talking about this. Alex Reyes, former number one prospect in baseball, has officially been non-tendered by your St. Louis Cardinals. I think, we probably saw this coming. Does it still hurt to see that news line go across my screen? Yes. I don't even know if I think the Cardinals should re-sign him. There's talk about his health isn't even going to be anywhere close to being ready for the MLB in 2023. At least that's what Mozeliak alluded to a couple of weeks ago. But I hate to see this. And
Yeah.
he's super talented. He's a guy that it's really easy to root for him. I don't know. Yeah, it's just a bummer.
Yeah. We'll always have that half season in 2021 when everything was going great.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the closer and he looked
All-star.
amazing.
Yeah.
There was talks about stretching him out to chase that rotation dream. And then here we are. So very disappointing. We've actually spent a lot of time over this year talking about the Cardinals' inability to develop ace level pitching. I kind of am okay to give them a pass on this one because I think he talent wise looked the part and executed the part to the best of our expectations. It was just a health thing. So, I don't know if it's just some people are just that way. It's an unfortunate, just like human condition that some people just can't stay on the field. And, or maybe it's something with the Cardinal medical staff. We'll never know.
Yeah.
But, just ultimately disappointing. Um, we number one prospect in baseball hasn't happened very much for the Cardinals. Hopefully will happen again this year. I think we got a good shot at it with Jordan Walker, but yeah, disappointing. I do think ultimately the right move, especially if he's not healthy for 2023. I guess he could keep him on the 60 man but how many times are we going to do this? Let him maybe there's a way down the line where he finds his way back to the Cardinals after proving some consistent health and I would love that, but there's
Yeah.
like how can we keep doing it,
He's still under 30. He's still like his arm talent is, through the roof. Wouldn't be surprised if he maybe not here, but somewhere else. And
Yeah,
I just want to see a full season from him.
I
At
know.
this point,
Yeah.
I mean, unless it's with the Cubs, I'm pretty much fine wherever it happens. There was
Yeah,
the
and
tweet Sandy Alcantara was trying to recruit him to the Marlins. Maybe he'll go down there to that pitching machine and figure it out.
if anybody can do it, wouldn't surprise me if the Marlins friggin' turn him around and
Yeah.
we have to go to play a 3-game series against them, and you got Alcantara and
Yeah.
Alex Reyes back to back. That'd be disappointing.
Yeah, not great. In other Cardinals news, they announced that they have agreed to a 1-year deal for right-hander Chris Stratton, who, if you remember, he was part of the Quintana trade. That deal is worth $2.8 million. I guess I was he's kind of a non-tender candidate. That's a little bit of money, so it's not totally shocking. They need arms. I don't think I would rather the Cardinals go spend that $3 million plus on the free agent market with another reliever, one of the many good relievers that are out there. But he is a ground ball guy. He's already here. All they had to do was send him a contract. So I guess it makes sense. I just don't really care, is I guess where I land
Yeah.
here.
To me, it comes down to where does he ultimately land in the bullpen as far as his expected role, because 3 million for a reliever, you know, it's pretty low, right? 1-year deal. There's no such thing as a bad 1-year deal, and they could cut him and I think do it pretty quickly if he's really bad.
Yeah.
But and that's fine if he's you know, your sixth guy in the bullpen, something like that, coming in middle innings, because they've signed someone else to come in to that back half. If this ends up being the only real addition to the bullpen or the real bullpen signing, like that's where I'd say, like, come on, we could have done a lot better. But it's such low dollar amount, in baseball terms, that it's fine. My guess is that they must have just like really liked him,
Yeah.
and there's so many darts you can throw with these types of guys. Like, you might as well get someone with a consistent big league experience and who isn't great, but he's also not bad either, right?
He
So
didn't walk a bunch of people. Yeah, I mean, he came
yeah,
in and was fine. The Cardinals used
yeah,
him in a
right,
playoff game, so could be
yeah,
worse.
yeah,
Yeah. Next thing I want to talk about, Cardinals signed a group of minor league free agents. Two interesting names on that list: Oscar Mercado, who you may remember as a former top 10ish, like fringy prospect with the Cardinals. Oscar was traded to the Guardians when they were the Indians for Connor Capel, who you may remember is now an A and had a nice little 2 week stretch with
yeah.
the A's at the end of the season. And John Torres, who is a monster 6'5" massive human being corner outfielder who's still in the minors. But kind of crazy. Oscar Mercado already back. I think he's 27 years old. He is now a center fielder, not so much of a shortstop. But obviously the Cardinals like this guy. They enough to bring him back. He's back in the family. We'll see. I
Yeah.
wouldn't be surprised if Oscar gets like a long look in spring. I wouldn't be surprised if he's, maybe 26-man material, or at least somebody the Cardinals are looking at as 26-man on the
Well,
roster.
I've been saying for quite a while now we need more outfielders. So here we go. Now, a bit of a speed guy,
Yeah.
he for a little while it looked he got some real time with the Guardians, and it looked like he was going to be their center fielder of the future.
Yeah.
And I know that there was some brief hand wringing about that trade because Mercado seemed to be good, and there hasn't been much to come from on the Cardinal side on that
Yeah.
trade. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. It's to me, it's a good depth piece. I think it makes sense for us to stack some options at center field, some low cost options, just in case everything collapses. Like having a guy who played center field at the major league level for several years is valuable. And yeah, I mean, 27, still young. How many players have the Cardinals had that they've been able to like? The thing they've been good at is this like post hype,
Yeah.
like turning a guy back into something serviceable. So
Yeah, and
yeah,
I mean, maybe he even gets moved back to the infield. That's what he was with the Cardinals basically the whole time until that last like half season. He moved to the outfield, and that's when the Guardians traded for him. Another somewhat interesting name is Taylor Motter, was another guy that was signed in that group of minor league free agents. Utility player. He came up with Seattle. Used to be a speed guy. He's really now just kind of a utility defender kind of guy that can play every single position. And like I said, has some big league experience. So I think this is probably more of a depth piece. Probably your Corey Spangenberg type signing that happened last off season. But he's another guy, big league time. We'll see.
yeah. The Spangenberg era never truly got going here in St. Louis, but I still have hope. And I think with some of these moves too, you have to remember that like the Cardinals have to field teams at multiple levels of the minors too, and not every minor league signing is actually with the intent of uh, playing them on the major league team someday. You obviously hope that, but they also just have to fill spots and rosters in the minor leagues where maybe they don't actually have someone who's ready to be like the AAA center fielder, and you
Yeah.
need a guy to play there and fill out the roster. So some of these signings are just truly like these are minor league players to be minor league players.
Yeah, and I'm a believer in like raising the floor of the organization. Like even if Taylor Motter is going to be in, AAA all season, like he's proved himself. He is a good Major League Baseball player. He can go down there and push other guys, teach other guys, just raising the floor of the organization's entire depth. I'm pro. How that exactly like comes out, is impossible to determine.
Right.
But I like that idea and that kind of that driving force.
Yeah. That's the Cardinal way, Ben.
Okay. Speaking of the
There's a
Cardinal
there's a whole
way,
there's a whole book about it.
speaking of the Cardinal way, who couldn't hack it, Nate? Who got washed out by the system, who couldn't be
Yeah.
cardinally enough? Mike Maddux. So we knew we knew that he was kind of taking a step down or changing his role or the shape of his role or whatever. Guess what? He just signed on to be the pitching coach for the Rangers, joining Bruce Bochy's all-star staff down there in Texas. Now there is some word out there that say this is going to be a reduced role. Maybe he won't travel. Maybe it'll be this. Maybe it'll be that. But kind of interesting. I mean, it's the coaching staff brain drain. Just they're just going. And kind of two weird coaching departures.
Yeah, this one was more surprising to me than the Jeff Albert one because Jeff Albert is younger and he made the choice to leave because he didn't really want to be with the Cardinals anymore, and we knew he was going to land somewhere. Maddux, it felt to me like he was indicating that he was retiring or going to take a front office style position somewhere.
Right.
Uh, but
Advisory
yeah,
role or whatever you want to call it.
advisory,
Yeah.
yeah, or go the Akendo role where you're
Yeah.
just down at one, like you're now the spring training guy, whatever, something where you can be more stationary. But yeah, so pitching coach for just another team, a little surprising. But he's a Texas guy, so there can be a feeling of just being in your home state just feels less like travel. You can be maybe closer to your hometown and whatnot. And yeah, it
Yep.
kind of depends on what role it is. But if it turns out that he's just the traveling pitching coach for the Rangers, basically redoing his role with the Cardinals with another team, be a little surprising to me, and would make me wonder, was there something going on in the coaching staff that, you know, Marmol wants his guys, and those were not Marmol's guys, even though he worked next to them
Hey,
for a decade. I don't
I'm
know.
starting that narrative. I don't care if it's cuckoo bananas or not, but I think that is a sound narrative. I think that Ali is
He pushed him
imposing
out.
his will.
Yeah, he pushed him out. Get out of
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's all I got on the Cardinals news. Let's move to some hot stovey Cardinals chat, if that's okay with you, Nathan.
Motion to proceed.
All right.
Granted.
Okay. I think the first thing we need to talk about, and the only reason I'm even bringing this up is because I just see it on Twitter and blogs, and a lot of people are chatting about it. Cody Bellinger is now, or has been non-tendered by the Dodgers, won the MVP a couple of years ago, and people want him to be a Cardinal. What are your thoughts?
I'm so torn on this one because left-handed power bat is
Yeah.
what the Cardinals are looking for. And you also think about he's a really good center fielder. He can also play first
Freak
base.
athlete.
He can play DH. He hit 19 home runs last year and stole 14 bases. So some of those outcomes are still there. Now, pretty much everything under the hood was bad. He basically just, if he makes contact, he can hit the ball hard, but he does not make as much contact as he used to.
Yeah.
And enough to get non-tendered, a former MVP. He won the MVP 3 years ago. It wasn't that long ago. It was 2019, and now he's non-tendered. It's wild. What a fall. So I guess I would be supportive of it because you have to imagine he was incredibly young when he won an MVP, and he still is. He transitioned in that post MVP time to also be an incredible center fielder. So you feel like there's got to be the tools, or they're still there. He's still young. The recipe is there for the most obvious bounce back of all time, right? But then the flip side to that is if any team was going to figure it out and solve it, it's the Dodgers. So why do we think the Cardinals would be able to bring him in and flip everything around? But I guess ultimately I think I would be okay with it. I think it's probably a good gamble, because if you can get him even back to 75% of his former glory, I mean, he makes this lineup incredible, right? Arenado, Goldy, Bellinger. If you asked us 2 years ago even about that, we'd be like, holy
Yeah.
shit, right? So I don't know. I'm kind of circling the drain here, but I guess I'd say I'm kind of fine either way. I think if I truly could pick, I'd say, yeah, let's give it a shot. But I'd also totally understand if the Cardinals say, no, we don't need that on our team right now.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. I think I mostly agree with everything you said. I do like betting on an athlete, I do think that you can probably get him on a 1-year deal because he wants to make good and then go,
Right.
cash in with the Yankees or whoever. So this is super, you take this for whatever it is. But there was Jerry Hairston Jr. is on the post game for the Dodgers. And he kind of had this rant earlier this year going on and on about how unbelievably uncoachable Cody Bellinger is, and that he will not change his stance. He's just being like stuck in the mud. And he's kind of Matt Carpentering is basically what it
Yeah.
made it sound like. Like, I'm not listening to other people's opinions. I'm doing the thing that got me here. I'm not going to adjust. So I do worry about that. Although I do wonder, to kind of undercut that statement, like it took Matt Carpenter being non-tendered to make the changes. Is Cody Bellinger going to do the changes, or is he just going to make it work? I don't know. Like, he is athletic enough that I wouldn't mind betting. I don't know. What's the thing is, I also don't like, is he going to cost 15 for 1 year? Is he going to cost 5? Is he going to cost 20? Like, I really don't know what a 1-year Cody Bellinger deal looks like.
Yeah.
If the Cardinals went for it, I would not be against it. But like, we,
Yeah. So
you can't just say like, this is my center fielder or this is my right fielder.
no,
Like, it would have to be with
it'd be a
insurance.
it'd be a part-time role, and he'd have he'd have to, assumably there'd be a path to full-time if he crushes, but he would not come in as the presumed starter for any position because
Right.
you know, I would rather see Jordan Walker in right field than Cody Bellinger. But if Cody Bellinger's willing to come in and play all the different outfield spots and play a little first base or DH, like, and get those at bats and can put it together, then great. Like, I think you could do a lot worse than him. Looking it up, I mean, he's been real bad. So, particularly last year, 2021, he had, across 350 plate appearances, he had a 47 WRC plus.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Yeah.
Now, to his credit, he almost doubled it in 2022 across 550 plate appearances, so a full season's work. He had an 83 WRC plus. So
Yeah.
it's just bad. And he did end up putting up a 1.7 F4 for the season, which, considering that WRC plus, you would not expect, but he's actually a really good center fielder. So, like, despite his poor offensive performance, he was still a almost 2 WAR player at the major league level, which is a really good floor if you can get that. But the year before, he was a -1 because of how bad he was offensively. So,
Yeah.
and there's just nothing redeeming in the profile other than you're just banking on a return to what he was able to do before. Kind of a low BABIP
Yeah.
in 2022 at a 255. But even at his career year, he was at a 300. So he's not like one of those high BABIP guys,
Yeah.
Um, yeah, there's no, I mean, 265 OBP last year, 240 in 2021. Like, there's just nothing there that you want. So you're
Yeah.
truly hoping he returns to form. So,
Yeah. I wonder,
yeah.
like, Cardinals sign him, and then 2 days later, you see on Twitter, Arenado and Goldy taking him to the Marucci Bat Lab or whatever, and they're
Got to
like,
get him that puck.
"Hey, dude,
We need that puck bat.
yeah, listen to us."
Yeah.
But yeah. All right, moving on. Jim Bowden, this came out in The Athletic today. Reports that the Cardinals are being talked about in Gabriel Moreno trade rumors, obviously, as well as Sean Murphy trade rumors. But essentially, what he was characterizing it as, the Cardinals are looking to make a big splash. They are looking to move aggressively. That is their top priority, is the catching position. And I wanted to talk about this because we haven't really talked about Gabriel Moreno, because I think you and I have been kind of putting that in how do, like, it just seems a little far out there.
Right.
And I will say, like, I'll give you my 2 cents on this. And after reading Jim Bowden this morning, I was kind of thinking about it like this. Well, the Blue Jays are in win now mode. They have 2 catchers that they know can hit at the big league level. Gabriel Moreno is a bit of an unknown. super high prospect, like JT Realmuto-esque level prospect. So does it make sense for them to just hold on to Jansen and Kirk, have them be their catcher DH little combination of two solid catchers and decent defenders, and then go cash out on Gabriel Moreno to augment their team with a left fielder or whoever they end up wanting to go with. And I guess through that lens, it does make a little bit more sense to me. But then you flip the mirror back on the Cardinals. Does it make sense for the Cardinals to basically go for another, like a high end? He's obviously more highly touted than Ivan Herrera, but does that make sense for the Cardinals going with somebody that young who is presumably major league ready? I mean, it's, you know what I'm not sure if I'm
Yeah.
doing a great job of explaining that, but
Well, both teams are in win now mode. So, like,
and
how
birds.
are
So it's a lot of
well, oh shit, it's a great point.
a lot of similarities.
They are both in win now modes and also both birds.
Yeah.
You like my brain just went 100% smooth when you said that. Like I could not, I could not. Okay. I have also figured that the Cardinals were not going to be in on Moreno because he's probably the most expensive out of all of the possible options,
right.
because of the team control. And yeah, like he is legitimately compared to JT Realmuto a lot. And even in a small sample size last year, 73 plate appearances, he had a 113 WRC plus and put up .7 FWAR. Incredibly small sample size, but 356 OBP, W20 or 326 OBA, like, or WOBA. So everything under the hood, everything looks great. He looks like a future star catcher. Are you willing to pay the price? I had been thinking more on acquiring a guy with just a couple years of control and let Ivan still develop and see if there's a natural transition to like a 24, 25-year-old Herrera rather than a 22-year-old Herrera. Give him a couple years as the backup while Sean Murphy establishes or continues his big league career. I don't know. I guess I'm happy with any of them. I think Moreno was the least likely in my mind because the Cardinals don't often do stuff like that. But Gorman at the Blue Jays would be a lot of fun. I don't know exactly where he plays, but I could see that working, or something centered around a NOOTBAAR or a Burleson. They need an outfielder. Like the Cardinals and Blue Jays line up pretty well as trade partners. So I just figured it would be one of the other two over Moreno. But I would be big time supportive of them getting Moreno. I'm a big believer in him. I think he's going to be great. So
and I think it's important to note, like what you're talking about, though. It's going to be Gorman plus plus. Like it's going to be one of the Cardinals' best prospects or young major league players. Plus,
Moreno's one of the top prospects in baseball and looked really good at the major league level in a small sample size. Like it's really hard for your value to be any higher than Moreno's is right now. So you're really buying high. But if he's the next JT Realmuto, like you're
make
okay
it
with
happen.
whatever.
Yeah.
Look at what the Phillies, what they traded for actual JT Realmuto.
Yeah. Sixto and
a couple other guys. It hurts
Jorge
the
Alfaro.
Marlins. Yeah. It hurts the Marlins that Sixto like immediately got hurt because at the time Sixto was a big time prospect, but still, like, look how much their lineup looks so different. With their catcher being, and we can, we don't have to go that far back to remember what it was like to have an elite or a high level offensive player at catcher position. So how much it impacts the lineup. So yeah, I'd be supportive of it. I still think it's probably the least likely one. I think Murphy is the most likely of the trade candidates, and then from there it goes down. But we'll see.
Yeah. The timing of the competitive window and the team needs, I think, moved me towards the Blue Jays a little bit more than the A's. But yeah. All right. Moving on. Should the Cardinals actually sign Quintana as I predicted earlier this season? Do you think that is a sound move? And I guess outside of that, what do you want to? What would you pay him?
Um, my actual thought is no, they should not. If they're going to get a starting pitcher, I'd rather go spend the extra whatever it is going to be for one of the like higher end options on the market. Because I just don't know who you sign Quintana. He's going to be a starter. Who's he displacing at this point? But
Matt's
I guess
probably.
Matt's,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, which is fine, but we don't really know what we didn't get Mats as a starting pitcher in 2022,
Right.
you know, and it was one normal injury and then like a freak injury. And
And he still
I'm
came back and looked good.
he looked good. I'm still high on Mats,
Yeah.
even though it was basically worst possible outcome in 2022. Like I'm still high on Matt. So I'd like to see him in the rotation. But if they are like there's worse signings, Quintana looked good as a Cardinal. He obviously looked good, and I think he's gonna get rewarded for his performance as a
Yeah.
Cardinal. Um, so it wouldn't surprise me if someone does like 345 or something
Man.
like that for
Yeah.
him.
Yeah. If that's what it costs, I will tell you I am out on Quintana. I
I
think it'd
could
be a
be yeah, I could be high. I could be
yeah.
high on that, but
Yeah. I think it'd be a fine signing. It wouldn't be a great signing. Kind of along that conversation, we've talked about the high end guys. We're now talking about Quintana. I want to throw four guys that I'm putting mid tier as far as starting pitchers at you and see just if you have any thoughts. Those names are Mike Clevenger, Chris Bassett, Sean Manaea, and Andrew Heaney. And I'm curious, what do you think? I guess more generally, what do you think about the Cardinals playing in those waters of those mid tier 2, 3 type rotational guys? And if if you had to, who would you pick out of that little list that I picked fairly arbitrarily? I will admit they are all kind. I put them in the same realm.
yeah.
Although Clevenger was quite hurt last year, Manaea had some ineffectiveness. Bassett had a good start. Andrew Haney, probably under the radar, had a pretty
Yeah.
solid season.
So Heaney is maybe my favorite out of that list. And he also had some injury issues, which is what I think really is why he's relatively considered a mid tier option. I think he has a very high upside and arguably the highest upside of that group. After Heaney, I would do Clevenger and then probably Minea and then Bassett. I like Bassett, but I don't think you signing 34, 35-year-old starters to like a couple years. I don't know. It doesn't sound great to me, even though all these guys are in their low 30s to mid
Right.
30s. Like I'd still gamble on, I think Heaney's 30. So
Yeah, right around there.
I'd rather
I
take him.
and I
Um,
do think this is probably worth some value. Like one of these guys or two of these guys are going to get signed to a good deal for the team, and they're going to outperform it. I think this is where the value is to be had. Like you can really, pay a little and get a lot here. But I just don't. It's impossible to know who is going to
yeah,
be that guy.
I just, and I know we like 2 years in a row, the Cardinals have struggled with starting pitching depth, and we've had to go like bargain shopping at the trade deadline. And so it makes sense to me, like what you're aiming at here to like to grab another mid tier guy and just throw him in there. I just wonder, like, so are we starting the season with a 6-man rotation? Where does Zach Thompson fall into this? Where does Libertor, assuming either of them aren't traded, where do those guys fall into this?
Yeah,
Because by the time the Cardinals rotation started to fall apart in this season too, um, you were running out of time to let someone like a Libertor or a Thompson like really try get good
yeah,
time in the rotation. And so you had to go and get these other guys. Like we just need innings, professional level innings, and we can't develop a guy when we're in the middle of a pennant race.
for sure.
But going into 2023, especially if the Brewers which we're going to talk about, if the Brewers continue to sell and the Cubs don't buy, then like the Cardinals are going to be a like by a mile favorite for the Central in 2023. So they might feel like a little bit more room to experiment with, give these guys playing time. So I'm just like, I know we can probably bank on some Flaherty injury time. We can probably bank on, well, you never know with Waino. He's, so at his advanced age, you assume people are going to get hurt. We don't know with bats. We're going to need more starters. It just like, is paying a mid-tier guy to possibly be around for a few years the right thing?
Yeah. Well, I also think like two of these names, Clevenger and Heaney, offer you strikeouts per 9.
Right.
And the Cardinals just don't have that.
I like
So I
both
think
of
that's
those
something
guys
to be considered about. But yeah.
If you could get either of them on a 1-year deal, like a pillow contract, because they're both coming off of injuries and like haven't really had a full season to prove what they can do. If you could get either of those guys on a 1-year deal, and I don't actually have a huge concern about what the cost would be. It's more like the years, just a 1-year deal. Go for it. You can never have too much pitching.
Yeah. Yeah. Clev on a 1-year deal, I think would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But yeah. Cool. All right.
Okay. So I think that's it for this side of the conversation. There's always more to talk about, but we're going to continue to let the hot stove burn.
Pack show, Nate. Pack show.
I know. So we've got, of course, more to talk about. But before we get into that, we want to remind all of our listeners that this show is supported on Patreon. If you like the show, enjoy it, and want to support us in the effort that goes into making this show, consider subscribing at patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. Patrons at any level get access to our private Discord. That's the Bird Scored. We're having a great time. I'm like distracted right now while we're talking because there's a good conversation going on in it about the Cubs and Xander Bogaerts and whatnot. So there's always something going on in the Discord or, great people to talk to.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, it'd be cool if you paid attention to the episode instead, but yeah, the Bird Scored is a ton of fun.
I can do two things at once.
Can you?
I'd like to. No, I can't.
Yeah. Okay.
So patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. Get in there, get in the Bird Scored, hang out with us. Great people. We're having a great time. And also consider leaving us a positive review on your favorite podcast platform. That helps as well. Ben, where else can people find us online?
Yeah, make sure to follow us on Twitter at Talk About Birds while it is still a platform. Of course, you can follow us on Instagram at Talking About Birds. Jeez, I'm even screwing it up now. So Talk About Birds on Twitter, Talking About Birds on Insta. And if you have any thoughts, musings, questions, comments, concerns, ideas, you can email us at talkaboutbirds@gmail.com. Nate was going on and on about which celebrity he thinks he looks like before we started recording. Why don't you email and tell Nate what celebrity you think he looks like? Because I don't think he looks like Aaron Paul. So
I don't
that's what
either.
he thinks.
What a mischaracterization of
yeah.
What a mischaracterization. All right, now I have to talk about it. Thank you.
Oh my God.
Like when Breaking Bad was very popular. So this was like 9 years ago. I got told I look like Aaron Paul all the time. And I was a blackjack dealer and someone paid me $5, which because I'll do anything for $5, to scream science bitch really loud.
Yeah, sure.
And so I did it.
Wow, he really had to force that story in. I look like Aaron Paul.
You did it. You forced this. I don't think I do. I'm
so
way sexier than Aaron Paul.
Also, if you prefer to listen to us on Spotify, Talking About Birds is on Spotify. So check us out there as well.
Great. So there's a lot of other stuff going on around the league.
Actually, if you have any playlists that are public that people listen to, add one of our podcasts to that playlist so that it just comes on during a dance party or something like that. I think that would be funny.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to... Yeah.
That's your impression of yourself?
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Talking About Birds. All right, let's talk about the rest of the league.
Yeah, lots to talk. Pack show, Nate. Pack show.
Pack show. Let's go. Let's get through this. Let's go
All right.
through it, Ben. What do you want to
Yeah.
talk about first?
Yeah, let's go down the list. The Angels making some moves this week. More good moves. We praised their acquisition, Tyler Anderson. Now they have gone out and traded for Gio Urshela from the Twins for pitching prospect Alejandro Hidalgo, who's a youngster fireballer. Interesting move in the sense that they have a third baseman who is one of the highest paid baseball players in the league. Gio Urshela, primarily a third baseman, but somebody who could conceivably play shortstop as well. But interesting move, I guess. The Are the Angels better now because of that deal? Yeah, probably. Does it make all the sense? Not really, but here they are.
Yeah, I think this and the other move that they made is about lifting that floor, and
Right.
which is something really nice that we haven't seen the Angels really do. They've basically just gone for they signed the big star. Everyone talks about how they signed the big star, and then they do nothing else to support the team. So I think these are the types of moves that winning teams make. Gio Urshela is fine. He's not the best player in the league, and it's surprising how much he's actually been traded over the last
It
couple of
is,
years.
yeah.
But like they were so bad in so many positions, he has shown that he can be like productive at the major league
Yeah.
level, and I think it's a good get for him.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
kind of funny. Speaking of guys that have just been passed around all over the league in trades, they also acquired Hunter Renfroe from the Brewers for 3 pitchers of note. Now, this is a move that makes no sense on the outside looking in. Well, sorry, it makes sense for the Angels quite a bit. But I would say from the Brewers standpoint, this is kind of what Nate was hinting at earlier. Like, what are the Brewers doing? And then, like, right before we started recording, Buster Olney tweets, this is a pure salary dump. And they're likely looking to move Colton Wong as well. So the Brewers are just slashing. And I think that probably colors the trade that happened in the middle of the summer with Hader going out even more so, and
Right.
probably makes sense to why their GM is kind of taking an advisory role and everything that's going on here is that the Brewers are pulling a Reds. They're just a year and a half behind them. Such a weird deal. It's
Yeah.
disappointing. Like the Brewers have the pitching to be competitive. If they could just make something around them, like it's kind of frustrating as somebody who wants to watch
Yeah.
good baseball.
Well, and they're trading like if they trade Wong and they trade Renfro, that's two of the better offensive players that they had on the team last year, right?
Yeah.
Renfro was their best from a WRC plus standpoint. He was their best player,
Yeah.
and it has to be noted though that they did acquire S tier name Jansen Junk, so
Yeah.
that's good for them.
They
He actually,
traded Renfro for junk.
yeah, he looks Junk could be pretty good. But I think time will tell on some of these trades. Whenever you
Yeah.
trade one guy for a bucket of other people, like it if some of these pitchers really break, it could be good for them. But still, they're trading from a position of need for a position of depth, which is kind of the opposite of what you're supposed to do. So when you hear it's a salary dump, it makes way more sense and does not give you
Yeah.
hope for them trying to field a competitive team next year, because it's not like he was making an insane amount of money. Wong
No.
either is making, I think, 10 or 11 this
Yeah.
year. So they're a mid small market team, so they have to be more thoughtful with their money. But like Wong at 10 million or whatever it is exactly what you would expect a competing mid market team to want to retain.
Right.
So it's disappointing. I mean, again, I said it at the beginning, but if the Brewers are selling to this degree and the Cubs decide that they want to go another year on their rebuild before making like major changes, the NL Central was already, you could argue, was the weakest division in 2022. I think there's an argument for the AL Central. But going into 2023, I mean, it's going to be a total trash division.
Yeah.
That said,
I
next
think
year's also when the new schedules come into play,
yeah.
where everybody plays everybody equally, so it won't matter as much as far as like the competition that the Cardinals have to play. but the competition for who wins the division, which is a guaranteed playoff spot. You gotta feel good if you're the Cardinals going in.
Yeah, and I think I think not that the whole division hangs on Wong, but that's going to signal to me that the Brewers are just done competing, and I wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised if they start trying to move Urias, Adames, Yelich is going to be really hard to move. I
When is
mean,
Burns a free agent? He's got it
he's young.
coming up on it, right?
He's young. He's got
Okay,
years.
his first arbitration eligibility is after this year. So he's got
Yeah.
4 years of service time. He's a free agent after 2025.
Yeah.
So, like, when did the White Sox move Chris Sale? It was with like 2.5 years of control
Yeah.
left. Like,
Yeah.
there's a world where if the Brewers are really bad and some team wants to go nutso, like they could trade him anytime now for, you'd assume a big time package, but we'll see.
Yeah, maybe Corbin Burns is a Met in the middle of the next summer. Who knows what's going to happen there? And they get that mashing catcher from the Mets, whose name I can't remember right now.
Alvarez.
Alvarez. All right, let's keep Nate Pack show. Let's keep moving.
Okay.
Mariners trade Kyle Lewis to the Diamondbacks for Cooper Hummel, which is an interesting move to me because Kyle Lewis is, he's kind of Alex Reyes-esque, except for a position player. Like, super talented, flashes of brilliance, can't stay healthy. The dude is like super built, fast, powerful, big right-handed hitter. Won Rookie of the Year, and this really hasn't done much since. And then Cooper Hummel is definitely a catcher. I don't really know a lot about him, to be totally honest. He is going to be backing up Big Dumper for the Mariners, I suppose. That's at least that's the position I expect him to take on. But yeah, kind of an interesting little 1-for-1 deal. Two young guys that have ceilings that are relatively high.
Yeah, I can't just walk past Big Dumper. But yeah, Cooper Hummel was starting to kind of, make a name for himself last year, even though he had ultimately a pretty bad season, putting up negative -0.8 WAR. But I think people are pretty high on him in general. And yeah, Kyle Lewis, I'm really interested to see. The Mariners clearly have a plan for their outfield. And I think they just continue to, these are steps in the way of clearing space, reformatting their outfield.
Yeah, Dipoto be making deals. That's what he do.
Yep.
But yeah, interesting move. I think it it makes a lot of sense for the Diamondbacks, like try to get Kyle Lewis figured out in the high desert air, let him hit 35 bombs and then trade him or maybe retain him. He's still
young. He was
young.
Dynamic in his rookie year. He was a ton of fun.
Moving on, two interesting non-tender folks that I thought were somewhat notable. The Marlins non-tender Brian Anderson, their third baseman, who I know he's had a bad year and a half or so, but kind of surprised to see that. And then sticking in the National League East, our friend of the pod, Luke Voigt, also non-tendered by the Nationals, and a move that makes a little more sense to me. He was getting expensive, and the Nationals don't need a slugging first baseman. Well, they don't really need much right now. But yeah, two interesting names that are now part of the free agent class.
I would argue that they need everything right now. So,
well, sure.
Yeah. I don't think anything really lines up with the Cardinals here, but I suspect both of those guys will end up on another team.
Yeah. Shohei Ohtani announces that he is playing for Japan, the WBC. I think we already hit that earlier this episode, so we'll drive past that. Phillies extend Dave Dombrowski through 2027. Which is a massive deal for somebody in his position. I think it's obvious the reason why he brought them, to the promised land, even though they lost. But curious to see how this experiment continues to play out. I think that
we all laughed at the Phillies all year, and then they went to the World Series. So we'll see.
And Dombrowski got paid. Not that he needed it or anything like that. And if Dombrowski has any kind of superpower, it's getting the World Series
and losing.
And losing sometimes. He won with the Red Sox.
True.
And I think if he's got a second superpower, that is convincing owners to spend that money. I would not be surprised if Xander or Trey Turner or Dansby Swanson end up on the Phillies because of that superpower of his. So interesting move. But yeah, good for Dave Dombrowski. And other GM baseball executive news: Billy Beane, the longtime baseball ops leader for the A's, legendary Moneyball, blah blah blah, moves to an advisory role with the Athletics, stepping down. GM David Frost is now going to oversee baseball operations. So kind of an end of an era. Whenever somebody's stepping down into an advisory role, I never know exactly what that means, like how that changes his day to day. But I kind of thought, I guess I always thought Billy Beane was just going to be there until he won a World Series or like had to retire because of his age.
Yeah.
I thought he was that level of committed. But when you
There's
have
a
an owner
lot
like
going
that,
on.
it's hard
Yeah.
to.
Well, and there's a lot going on with the A's and like their stadium, and are they even going to be in Oakland forever? Like, he might just be seeing it as a good time to, you know, transition out. And yeah, advisory, who knows what that actually means.
Right. MLB had investigated into the Yankees and Mets around quote unquote improper communication regarding signing Aaron Judge. And then what I have written here in capital letters is collusion.
Collusion.
Collusion. So collusion.
Collusion.
Essentially what happened, there was a report that came out about a week ago from one of the New York beat writers, and it was kind of talking about how Cashman or how Hal Steinbrenner and Steve Cohen have a good working relationship and don't want to bid each other up. Now, this was the word of a writer. It did not come directly from the two owners. So I don't know exactly how to feel about this, but I will say it sounds like there was definitely collusion. It sounds like it was
Yeah.
probably said like in person in an office and nothing, was written down, recorded, or
Right.
emailed. But it sounds like they had a conversation, said, "Hey, let's not bid each other into oblivion for Aaron Judge or X other player." And we won't run each other, run each other's bills up all the way. And the writer wrote about that. MLB investigated it. They couldn't prove it, so it's just the word of a reporter and the two owners. And now here we are. And it's I hate that. First off,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not surprised by it at all because of course this kind of thing happens.
Of course. Yeah.
But I really think that this means that Judge is going to the West Coast. I think he is done with the Yankees.
So you think the Yankees they were trying to lay the groundwork to not have other teams outbid them or like get into some crazy deal, but the Giants or Dodgers or whoever and be like, we weren't a part of that conversation. We'll overpay for
Well, yeah.
Judge without a problem. Yeah.
Well, and it's getting interesting because there was a report that said the Dodgers offered him 214, which is very similar to the Yankees deal. So I have to assume that the Giants, who he met with yesterday, or sorry, 2 days ago, when this show comes out, they're offering him somewhere around the threes or at least high twos. So I really think if I'm reading the tea leaves, I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But like, still, collusion is bullshit.
Collusion. Yeah, I
And
have
of
to imagine
course,
this. It's happening all the time.
yeah. And
Yeah.
of course, nothing's going to happen. We'll probably never hear about this story again. It'll just be done. But
Yeah.
yeah, there you are. So that's bullshit. But let's end on something that is way cooler than that. I want to talk about Olivia Pichardo. She makes history
Yeah.
as the first woman on an NCAA Division I varsity team. She's playing for Brown University, and the University head baseball oh my goodness.
It's okay. Take your time.
The head coach for the baseball team at Brown University. Okay. His name
Okay.
is Grant Achilles, which is a crazy ass name. But anyways, a quote from him on Olivia Pichardo. Olivia put together one of the most complete walk-on tryouts I have ever seen from a player since becoming head coach. She pitches, plays outfield and infield, and her fastball has been sitting around the low to mid 80s. I think she tops out about like 85, 86, 87. Crazy. I cannot wait to see how this all plays out. But, it's kind of, I'm not saying that she's going to be the first one to play Major League Baseball or anything like that, but the door is continuing to swing open, and more women are being a part of like real, like affiliated ball. And it's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's, I mean, groundbreaking and fantastic. And I'd love to see, I think like pitching is the best route, I think, for someone to get into the major leagues. And it could happen. I hope it does. She
Yeah.
sounds amazing.
She's 18 and she's thrown in the
Only
low 80s. Like, she's only going to get stronger. Like, we'll see what happens. But yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. That's awesome. So good for her. We'll keep tracking that because, it feels like it's inevitable that it's going to happen, and it's going to start from a story like this, right?
Yeah.
Like breaking onto a team at the college level and then going on from there. So
yeah, pretty cool.
Incredible. All right, that's everything for the news side. So of course we're going to finish this episode with a dumb game. And I wanted to, last week I started saying we're going to do the MVP stuff or the award voting, and then we got interrupted by the card shark this week. I do have an update. I'm not going to go beat by beat on all of our picks and everything because that would take forever. We actually have a game that we're going to play, but I did want to conclude our previous game where we all picked, Ben and I both picked our predictions for the top 3 in all the major awards. And we were awarded points for everyone that you got correct. If you got the first place one correct, you got 3 points, second place correct, 2 points, and third place 1 point, right? Added it all up. And I have the results.
All right. I think I won.
Ben, you're not going to believe this.
Yeah.
We tied.
What the hell?
Now, we did have several things where we picked the same because some of them were obvious, right? We all knew how NL Rookie of the Year was going to go down, and some of them were obvious. But I had more first places. You had a big swing and a miss on Adley for Rookie of the Year, and we were both all over the place on the coaching ones. But where I was up, you made up in the second and third play. Like, basically, it all just ended up that we friggin' tied. So the takeaway from this is that we need to, every game that we play, we need to establish what is the tiebreaker because it keeps happening.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah. So fun.
Well, wait, I'm quickly looking over your scoreboard here, and I don't see National League Manager of the Year. So
controversy.
I don't know if we want to figure this out in real time, but I don't think you...
Did I not write it down?
I don't think you wrote that one down. And I'm going to probably just say that I was right.
No, I don't think so. I don't think you're going to be right. All right, controversy. I will. Okay. I guess I'll go back and listen to our episode and figure out what our picks were. Well, we're tied. Okay. Ooh, wow. This isn't controversy. This is we're leaving. We've got a little cliffhanger, a little hook for
there
next,
we go. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, we got a little hook for next week. But no, we're going to this week. We're returning in honor of Thanksgiving, Ben's favorite holiday. He likes it for the reason, not for the food.
Yeah.
We're returning to one of my favorite games, League Choose.
League Choose.
All right. I've got an article here from ballparksavvy.com.
These articles always piss me off.
The article is the best new ballpark food.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I've got a list of these ballpark foods, and you are going to guess what ballpark this food is from.
All right.
I'm going to make it a little bit easier for you, and I've made it multiple choice.
I will never be more mad about the ice cream in a helmet decision the last time we played this game. That still pisses me off. I did not like that at all.
It was bullshit. But so
and by your design, my friend.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
piece of
that's part
shit.
of why I picked it. There's a good
Ugh,
one on this one too.
great.
So what they've done is for some of these ballparks, they've introduced more than one new food and they've kind of lumped them together. So I will read to you the names of the foods. I'll give you a list of ballparks
Okay.
or teams, and then you
Yep.
tell me which one it came from. If you'd like any more explanation of what these foods are, I do have the article pulled up, and I can give you some of that content.
All right.
If you get it right, you will get Homer enjoying some donuts.
Donuts.
And if you get it wrong, you're getting a big fat.
Okay. All right.
So, yeah, I thought I'd bring in some Simpsons on this one.
That's good. Yeah.
All right. The first one, best new ballpark food, loaded helmet nachos.
Mm.
Is it the Angels, the Rangers, the Yankees, or the Tigers?
I mean, that's something that could exist at any ballpark in America. Yeah, I guess I need a little more. I need you to read the description maybe a little bit more, and hopefully that'll give me something to. Or I could just like judge, fandoms for being fat or not. Like, but I think a little more context would be helpful.
Following up last year's iconic helmet offering, The Mound, this year's dish is trading out the chocolate chip cookies for some seriously tasty nachos. Get ready to share and get your hands messy because between the chipotle chicken, guac, beans, cheese, pico, and pickled jalapenos, you and your game buddies are going to have your hands full with this stuffed helmet.
And what were my options again?
Your options are the Angels, the Rangers, the Yankees, or the Tigers.
Okay, so I'm definitely leaning. It's a Southern team. I'm thinking Angels or Rangers, and the mound is helpful. That just reeks of Texas to me. A helmet full of cookies. So I'm gonna go with the Rangers on that. Damn it!
It is Angels.
I was close.
You were,
Timing,
although
kinda.
I mean, you did say Southern and then said Los Angeles, which I get what you're kind of
Well,
saying,
I
but
mean, pickled jalapenos aren't necessarily
yeah,
something that you find a
yeah,
lot in Detroit. That was my
yeah.
rationalization there.
Okay. I thought it was funny because loaded helmet nachos, I feel like have existed forever. And if this is new, it's very Angels s to be like incredibly late to everything. So
Guys, guess what we
um,
invented?
yeah. All right, moving on.
I want to try
This
that
is
mound, that
I
helmet
know,
mound.
right?
Yeah.
This is two things. The Ruben some dirt on it dog
What the?
and Sports Illustrated cover dog.
Ugh.
Your options are the Twins, the Diamondbacks, the Mariners, or the Dodgers.
Okay. What was the first dog again?
Ruben some dirt on it dog.
God, that's so stupid.
These two seasonal dogs are worth every cent of their $30 price tags.
$30.
Each of these dogs 18 inches long with a Shriner's hot dog and bratwurst respectively. The Reuben is wrapped in a rye bun and smothered with mac and cheese, fried pickles, and green
Ugh.
onions, topped off with a secret sauce to create something truly delectably horrific for your doctor. Bringing some jokes here. On the other hand, the SI cover dog has an onion bun, and the mac on this one is fried. Its beautifully layered flavor is rounded out by jalapeno, Granny Smith apple coleslaw, barbecue aioli, house cured beer pickles, and green onion.
Huh. Okay. All right. One time, this is impossible. What are the teams again?
I'm not going to read it on all of these. So,
Yeah.
Diamondbacks, Twins, Mariners, Dodgers.
That seems like a team that is desperate. I'm going to go with the Diamondbacks.
You got it. This one.
Yes.
Oh, wait, hold on.
Donuts.
Yeah, there you go. You got that one. All right.
That first one does not sound good to me. The
It
second
sounds
one
horrible.
sounds okay, the SI
Yeah.
cover, but the first one sounds disgusting. Also, $30.
$30. All right. Here's a good one. Pizza cupcake.
Ooh. Now I'm sold. Yeah.
Yankees, White Sox, Cubs, or Mets?
Yankees, White Sox, Cubs, or Mets. Pizza cupcake. I'm gonna go. Who wants that? Yankees, White Sox. I mean, Chicago's a bunch of fatties. Let's go with the White Sox. Damn it.
This one is actually the Mets.
I mean, yeah, pizza, but
Well, I tried to pick all. I did, New York and Chicago.
yeah,
we're basically so. Yeah. So they got a pizza cupcake now. Sounds great. I could go for a pizza cupcake.
yeah. Is it sweet or savory?
It's like cupcake shaped pizzas. It's like
Okay.
little
All right.
pizzas.
I'm there for that. Yeah, that's good.
Donut burger.
Yeah. Well, the Grizzlies have a donut burger.
Yeah, this has been around for a while. There's a local place here that does a donut burger too. Braves, Rays, Phillies, or Astros?
Braves, Rays, Phillies, or Astros? Braves, Rays. Let's see. Donuts. I'm being drawn to Philadelphia. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you got it.
There we go.
Philly has introduced the donut burger.
Smart. Smart. Great year for them. Great year to introduce the donut burger.
Yeah.
I'm sure Bryce Harper eats one a day.
Probably. All right. Our next one. There's another combo of two things, like two different things.
Okay.
Garden salad jars and Coney dog egg rolls. Is that the Guardians, the Reds, the White Sox, or the Tigers?
Guardians, Reds, White Sox, or Tigers? Those sound stupid. I'm gonna go with the Guardians. It's like some Cleveland bullshit. Okay.
Yeah. So Coney dog famously is a Detroit thing. So you've got the Tigers, but I was, places are doing it all over the place, but it is Detroit is where they have introduced garden salad jars.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
Coney
Does
dog,
that sound good?
Yeah. Best new ballpark food. But we're trying to offer, maybe you want to go to a game and you don't want to just eat slop the whole time.
Go somewhere else.
Get a salad jar.
Screw that. You know what? There's in the bottom bowl at Coors Field, there is a salad bar stand, and we go there all the time because it's the shortest line to get a beer, because nobody goes there. And they sell Coors.
All right. Nice. How about a California roll bowl?
Yeah.
Your options are the Dodgers, the Giants, the Angels, or the A's.
LA. I'll go Dodgers. That's stupid. Hey.
Oh, nuts. All right. You've gotten 3 correct so far. All right. Red, white, and blue dog and the foul pole.
Oh, I already know this one. This is Rangers.
Okay, I was gonna say, I wondered if you'd remember that from our last.
I remember the foul pole because that offends me. Although I do want to eat it.
This was an early episode of ours where we did the where we talked about the foul pole. Let me see if I can find what
it's like a 2.5 pound chicken nugget shaped like a pole. It's disgusting.
This hefty 2-pound chicken strip is truly something to behold, composed of 8 chicken breasts wrapped together. This hand-battered fried concoction is accompanied by waffle fries, honey mustard, and ranch. The red, white, and blue dog is the sausage underneath round out the savory. Oh, wait, here we go. Sorry. The red, white, and blue dog is a loud and proud tribute to the old red, white, and blue. It includes a gherkin's relish of best made pickles dyed red and blue alongside a strip of white onions.
Gherkin.
Wow. Yeah. All right. You got that one. Remember, of course, I should have known you'd remember the 2-pound chicken nugget.
Oh, never forget that.
Yeah. Yeah. A few more here. impossible Asian appetizer duo. Your options are the Mariners, the Phillies, the White Sox, or the Padres.
That reeks of Seattle. I'm going to say the Mariners. Ah,
Yeah, I thought I'd trick you with that one, and I got you.
Padres.
The White Sox.
Oh my
Have
goodness.
introduced the impossible Asian appetizer duo.
Huh.
All right, two more for you.
This game's dumb.
This is another two. This is another two banger here.
All right.
The Boomstick and peanut butter and jelly candied bacon sandwich. Now let me read to you what the Boomstick is. Looking for something so classically decadent that it might actually stop your heart? Look no farther than the Boomstick. This hoagie is gas station food 2.0. It is a packed bun, an astounding 2-foot long hot dog slathered in a combination of chili, nacho cheese, jalapenos, and fried onions.
Okay.
2-foot long hot dog.
Yeah.
Your options for this are the Twins, the Braves, the Orioles, and the Red Sox.
Okay. I was gonna guess it was the team that had Nelly Cruz, since his name is Boomstick. His nickname is Boomstick. You said the word hoagie, which points me to the East Coast because that's what they call it over there. So I'm gonna go with Baltimore. Ah,
So the Nelson Cruz reference is fair. He was also a twin, though, which is where this came from. The
but they don't
Minnesota
call
Twins.
it a hoagie there. Damn it.
Well, maybe this writer is East Coast.
Ugh. This
article was written by Stormy Verrett. Cool name. All right.
Sounds like a dog's name.
This is the last one. And Stormy's voice is really coming through in this one.
Oh,
and
God.
Part of the reason I even did this is because of this. So all these other ones have been a combination of when they've included multiple items, they just listed out both items.
Okay.
For this one, they editorialized the best food to get at this ballpark.
That's what this section should be called. To be called ballpark.
They combined 3 dishes that are now available at this ballpark, and Stormy called them meaty delights.
Wow.
So
sounds like a dog.
Where are these meaty delights available? Can you get them at the Brave Stadium, the Astros, the Marlins, or the Reyes?
Oh, they're just called meaty delights?
It's 3 new ways to buy meat from this from this ballpark.
What?
There's there's ribs.
Okay.
There's here, let me just read them to you.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're giving me nothing here.
Honestly, we just couldn't decide between this ballpark's 3 new meat packed dishes: freshly smoked ribs, short ribbed grilled cheese, and ropa vieja bowl.
Okay.
So it's those 3 that Stormy has determined to be called meaty delights.
All right. And the teams one more time, please.
Yes. You have the choice of the Braves, the Astros, the Marlins, and the Reyes.
I guess I'm going to go the Astros. It sounds like something Texas would do. There's a little Tex-Mex in there. Yeah, I'll go Astros. I hate this game.
It is the Tampa Bay Rays.
Whatever.
You can go to Tropicana Field, get yourself some meaty delights.
God, Stormy, you suck.
Meaty delights. I just love it. I love it. What a I was like, should I use this article? Then I read meaty delights. I'm like,
yeah, and then wow. Yeah, you were sold. Great.
Yeah. All right, that's gonna do it. Ben, you got 3 right. So
yeah, good.
You know. It's because you hate Thanksgiving. So, but to those who celebrate and those who enjoy, happy Thanksgiving. And we'll be back next week with another episode as we descend further and further into the off season. Feel free to reach out to us if you have anything you want us to discuss, talk about birds on Twitter and patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. Once again, shout out to the Bird Score. And we'll be back next week. And until then, go John Mozeliak signing Carlos Rodon.
Ham.
Just ending on ham.